Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Natalie Charles. I'd like to welcome you to the Career Success series where we talk about professional growth and share career stories to inspire and empower people to take action. My guest today, I'm so excited. I'm so very excited to introduce her. My guest today is Miss Vernisha Charles, and I'm extremely excited to introduce her, not only because of how excited she is about her own work, about the work that she does, but she's someone who I've known from the beginning of my career journey, someone who's always been so passionate about helping other people develop and grow. And she's just an all-around awesome person. She is a mom, a wife, a luxury brand consultant, a trainer, and a forensic networker, which we will talk a little bit more about. So Vern, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shauna, for having me. It's really exciting for me to be here with you, really to share your stage. I think it's the first time we're sharing an international stage together. And for those persons listening who are seeing either Shauna for the first time or Miss Shauna, my gosh, she's one of those persons from very early who really inspired me, even if I was already a manager, and seeing her zeal, her passion, and more so her love for people and a desire to really help people grow and evolve is something that kept me connected with Shauna. She's one of the few people from all the way back then when we worked together. I'm still connected with very close. And we share the same last name.
Yeah. People may think we're related, but
we're related.
We are. But not by blood, not the way we'd love to be, right?
That's right. But I love the way that we're related. So much so we're in sync and we're in the same colors and didn't plan it.
Could you believe it?
Yeah, so it's an honor to be here with you, Shauna.
Talking about something really exciting and something which you are so expert at, if I may say. And we're talking about the success mindset today, which is something I think that's important for every single person, not just job seekers or career builders, but everyone. Because really and truly, I believe that your mindset is really the foundation of everything else. Yeah, in life.
I absolutely
agree.
Before
we go on, Vern, I want to ask you sorry, I'm just having a little, okay, I just had a little glitch, but I want to do something a little bit fun and ask you a few warm-up questions, if that's okay. You're up for it?
Absolutely all right. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so my first question, what is the worst job you've ever had, without mentioning any names of any companies? Just tell us a little bit about the worst job you've ever had.
I've not had many jobs, Shauna, but the worst, what we would relate to as the worst, I think was my best, because it's really what propelled me out of the employee mindset and employee world and pushed me outside of my comfort zone and made me step into an entrepreneur or a mompreneur, as I usually say. So what turned out to be perhaps the worst job for me really became the best job, because it really turned my life around and exploded me into levels that I really didn't imagine. So it's really how you look at it. So it was probably my worst and my best job. In terms of worst, not enjoying what I was doing. I enjoyed what I was doing, but I did not like the environment in which I was existing, doing what I was doing. And some of the individuals and how they operated, their mindsets and all of that became very frustrating. And that's what got me to make the decision to move out of that place and really start building something for me and my kids.
Wow, wonderful, good. It's a good thing that job happened, yes? I think it's a good thing for the world that job happened to you. Otherwise, you would not be the powerhouse that you are today.
It's true, it's true.
Mm-hmm. Next question. What is something that you'd love to talk about that no one ever asks you about?
My biggest passion is being a mom.
Yeah.
I have 4 spectacular human beings that call me mom. They call me mommy, and they rock my world. They get me emotional every time I talk about them. And I think it's one of the biggest, most significant, most frustrating, and most important job there is ever in the universe is that of being a mom. I'm not talking about a parent, but being a mother. And Shauna, what really shifted me big time from being controlled with time by any organization or system was because of how limited I felt in my role as a mother. And for those persons watching who have had kids, the first word, you want to be there. The first step, you want to be there. For your children's first milestones and everything, you want to be there. And for my first 3 kids, the daycare was the one who told me about these milestones. And it always made me cry because I did not hear the first word, and it wasn't mommy, they said, you know, and the way they got excited about another person like they were excited about me. So the question that never comes up is, how do you feel being a mom and being a working mom and being a professional and being a mom? And my professionalism, my business, my career, all of that is after my role of being a mom. When I was an employee, it was the job and then my family and my kids. And I love that shift. And my kids are the ones that really propel me. They are the ones that empower me. They are my biggest why of everything that I do, even for myself, because these 4 individuals, if I don't set a proper foundation, if I don't set a proper example, if I don't create good enough for me, then they don't have a blueprint to go by. Then they go searching for a blueprint. And I wanted my blueprint to be the first choice for them, or to use to create their own blueprints for life.
That's a powerful job, Vern. That is the most powerful job, yes? Wow. And so you've just told us, you just answered that question, which you've always wanted people to ask you, and that is, tell us about being a mom. You've just told us about being a mom, and the way you speak about it, the passion is oozing out of every part of you. I can see it, I can feel it, although we're so far apart. And so, wow, I'm not a mom, but I think I'm the next best closest thing, which is an auntie to 12 nieces. To 12 nieces and nephews, and I could not even begin to imagine just the amount of love that you have and this passion for creating the blueprints. I love that. So along the lines of parenting, what is something that your mom or dad does that you find yourself doing these days?
These days, ooh, all the time, all of my parenting skills, most of them, if not all of them, I took from my parents. My parents should really be my grandparents, Shauna, because I'm too young to be my parents' child. My dad is 91. Well, I can say on air, I'm 43. And my dad is 91. My mom is 86. And I have older sisters and brothers who are old enough to be my mom and my dad. So their kids are older than me, and they call me auntie. So I grew up the old-fashioned way. And I loved the parenting skills. After I started my family, I began to appreciate more and more the parenting style of way back as opposed to now. So what I have done, the thing of when my parents, especially my dad calls me old soul. He says I'm much older than I am because I spent so much time with them, and I have taken up all of their wisdom and their way of thinking and the way of doing things. My mom, it's not something that most parents, I think, do that. But my mother, I remember growing up, and even in her sleep, because it was a wooden house, and whatever happens wherever you'd hear in the house. And I remember as a very young child, my mother would be asleep, and I would be hearing my mom praying in her sleep. And that was a phenomenal thing for me. That impacted me from very young. And I was saying, wow, no wonder we all turned out okay, because my parents has 13 of us. I'm number 12 out of 13. And no wonder we all turned out okay. My mom is a prayer pillar. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom until my last sister was born.
Okay.
So my mom was the one who was home when I got home from school. The food was cooked and the little junk that was already there, like the tablets and the guava cheese and all of these little things. And my mother was always home to receive us. And I remember what that felt for me. My dad was the very, very strict, very rigid, and nothing would pass my dad. My dad, if we set the table, it had to be done perfectly. And I learned that from my dad. If you're going to do something, you do it the best way that you possibly can now. So if anyone else judges you as a result of what you've done, that it's not good enough, you then will judge yourself and know that it was your best. So I learned that from my dad. If you were washing dishes, you do it your best. So if I wash the glass and it's crying, my father said it would be crying, like you see the droplets on the yes. He would make me go wash it back until it was spotless. And he always said, don't waste time doing something twice and three times when you could have done it once and do it well. So I took that from my dad while he was very harsh. And I thought in those days he was being cruel.
Yeah.
But growing up and being on my own, I have saved a lot of time, Shauna. When I make my bed, I make it impeccably, like I've been in the army. And I teach my sons, my kids, the same thing. I have 3 boys. And when my sons make a bed, you think it was a grown-up woman who made the bed.
Wow.
And same thing for even to opening clothes on the wire. It's done by length and by type. And my sons do the same thing. And so I learned perfectionism from my dad. And when I say perfectionism, I put it in quotes, not meaning perfect, but doing it the best way the first time. And if it's not perfect, exactly.
Yes.
If it's not good enough, then you know you can grow from there because you did it perfect. And if it wasn't done well enough, then it means now you learn, and then you grow, and then you grow. So I learned that from my dad. And there's so much I can talk about that I picked up from my parents.
And
but
that you're now passing on to your kids.
My kids. That's correct. And even in my business as well. Even in my business as well.
Yes, you have a daughter, Chloe, who's already an entrepreneur at 18. Yeah?
Well, she just turned 19 last month.
Okay. Happy birthday, Chloe. Wow.
And so Chloe has learned a lot. Actually, she spends more time with my parents than she does with me. My parents have somewhat adopted her as their own. So whenever she's
sorry.
Yes, and both of my parents adore Chloe. You would think truly they gave birth to her, and they're forever blessing her, Shauna. And that's something that cannot be taken away. And my parents, my mother and my father separately are always blessing her because of how amazing she is to them at their age and knowing her age. So my father says Chloe is her back to front because he's 91 and she's 19.
Oh, yes, yeah. That's amazing. What a story. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Chloe, all the best to you. You are already following the right path. I just wish her so much success because she's doing such a great job. Yeah.
Thank you, Shauna.
Great job to you, Vin.
Thank you, Shauna.
So today, well, you did very well for the warm-up questions. Yes. Thanks for that. Today, we're talking about the success mindset. And if you follow Vern on her social media, you know that she's all about hair. She's all about the mindset and building the right frame of mind, the right mindset for success. She's really an advocate for positive thinking, if you ask me. So Vern, can we get into this topic? What is the success mindset in your view? And how can young professionals, mid-career professionals, or experienced professionals go about changing their mindset to a more positive one?
Shauna, that's a loaded question. And I want to start where I got started. And I go back to, I'm a Christian, and I go back to the word. And one of my favorite scripture texts is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And for me, this is where everything became true for me. And so when I delved into that, I got more and more books that I started reading. And Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, The Law of Attraction by Abraham Hicks. There's so many of these books that I have been reading, and when I take the context of these books, and I take it back to the word, that what I've learned from the Bible, is pretty much hand in glove when I understand it. So regardless of what profession, what job, no matter what it is, every person that you'd speak with that has been successful in their role, regardless of the role, you would see something that's common. It's how they think, how they believe. And it starts with the belief in yourself. And most persons, they get a little bit of success and then they go back down, and then they get a little break again, and they call that luck. But it really isn't luck. And when you look at some persons who have had a stream of success and they're always going up and up and up, it means that their mindset has been that of what is it that they truly want. So when persons say, Vern, you are so positive, is there anything that can put you down? I would say about 9 years ago, yes, definitely. I was like a yo-yo. When the weather was dark, I got dark. When the weather was gray, I was gray. When the weather was nice, I was nice. And I was heavily influenced by what was happening outside of me. Because I had not come to terms with truly who I am and what I am and the powers that I have. And when I started to understand the power of my mind and what my mind can do and what my mind can create and what my mind can control, then I started working on my mind, how I think. I don't have to think of the pandemic and the negative effects of it, but I can start thinking of the pandemic, of how it can bless me. And that's what I did. And Shauna, truly, in the past 7 years, 2020 was one of my biggest years financially in my business. And it's all because I programmed my mind to certain things. And so I started by asking, Vern, what do you want? What do I want? And in the instances where I didn't really know what I wanted, we always know what we don't want.
That's
you would ask the person, what do you want? Well, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this. And then when I wasn't sure about what I wanted and I knew what I didn't want, I used what I did not want to create contrast to help me know what I didn't want. And once I found that, I would hang on to it, and then I would go. So for my jobs, for example, I say, I didn't want a job where I have to work long hours. I didn't want a job where I had a bad boss. I didn't want a job, and I didn't. And guess what? I got all of it. I got all of what I didn't want. And then when I learned, as a man, truly, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I started thinking properly. What do I want? I want a job this year that will allow me to use all of the skills that I have, all of the passions that I have, and not just to elevate me, but to elevate all those around me. And somebody will say, what? Are you real? I am real. That's not realistic. Realistic does not exist for me, because realistic means it is what you have created. And because I know you, Shauna, cannot create in my reality, I focus purely on what I want, regardless of how stormy it is outside, regardless of how much is happening outside. I control my outside based on what I push from my inside. So if for a young person who has been told, or who has finished schooling, all of the schooling that they aspire to do up to this point in their life, and figure they're not in the job or the career that they want, perhaps it's because they have not been focusing solely on what they want. So I say, take a sheet of paper and begin to write out, put the career that you want at the top, and begin to list as many as you can. Why do you deserve this career or this job? Why do you deserve it? So now you'll begin to appoint you for it spiritually within you. And then the more you begin to think about it, the more it would just start getting bigger and bigger and bigger in you. And then you start to feel it. And as you feel it, you give off that energy or vibration. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You begin now to magnetize to you these things. And then you would say, wow, it's a miracle, it's magic. It's consistently thinking and focusing and feeling about what you want, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your job. And my kids have been doing that. I will use my 13-year-old son as an example. He's a lot like me. I don't like him a lot of days because he's too much like me.
You've given him the blueprint, Vern.
Yeah, you know, he speaks a lot like me. He's very outspoken. He has a comeback for everything. And then he says to me, Mommy, you know, even if I'm at school, I can make a lot of money. And I said, okay, Zai. Mommy, you know, the school has drainage all around it. Mommy, every day I walk around the drain in the school, I find money. Mommy, I'll find $5. Mommy, sometimes I find $20. I said, so Zai, what do you do with it? Mommy, of course, I know you would tell me to take it to the office because it belongs to somebody and they would need it. So I take it to the office every time. And he's always magnetizing money to himself. He's a cricketer professionally at his young age. So he represents St. Lucia on the Windwards for the Windwards team. And so before he made that team, one of his affirmations were always, Mommy, I am the best cricketer you've ever seen and the world will know my name. And he's like, Mommy, I'm going to make it, even if I'm the small. He's very, very small, very, very small. He's 13. When you see him, you'll think he's 9 or 7. He's very petite. But when he holds a bat, there's no limitation. When he swings a ball, there's no limitation with him. And then when he made the team, he was one of the first that got picked from the tryouts. And he came home, he said, Mommy, I told you, it's no surprise. And he goes they usually tell him, like my family, they would joke with him and say, I say, you don't even have size. How are you holding a bat? How you can throw the ball? And he says, okay, come in the wicket. I'll show you how I'll take your wicket in my first over. And you'll not be able to hit my balls because I know how to swing it. I don't know much about that. And his mindset first is about, he has a very strong belief in himself. A very, very strong belief in himself. And I ask persons who are listening, if you have been taunted growing up about your limitations, or you're not this and you're not that, and there are a lot of nots and no's and don'ts that have been told to you with your name, then it is time that you begin to spend time with you. Begin to spend time with you and begin to love you. And I do that a lot, Shauna, not as much now as before, because I think I've grown to that place of, I love my eyes because, I love my nose because, I love my lips because, I love my stomach because, I love my legs because. I used to get joked a lot by my siblings of my eyes. They used to tell me in Creole, your eyes are big like a pregnant moon rising behind the mountain. And they say it in patois. So I always thought that was a really bad thing, until one day I saw a pregnant moon rising behind the mountain. And I was like, oh my God, that is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So that's what my eyes look like. And then I fell in love with my eyes. And then they used to call me cold lips when I was younger. And I hated my lips because of that. And then as I grew up, people started telling me, oh my God, I love your lips. You have such beautiful lips. And and it would be both men and women. And so I grew to love my lips and dispel all of the negative things I was being told. And so, Shauna, it's about first loving you and believing in you, regardless of what you're aspiring to do, believing that you are worth it, you are worthy of it, and that you can do it. So belief in self is the first thing. If you're aspiring for a particular career or job, you believe in that career or job, not because somebody told you about it, but because you fundamentally believe in it. You have a belief system in it. You see how it can benefit you and so many others, and you see all of the reasons. So believe in yourself, and then believe in your career, believe in your job, believe in your business, and then the rest will fall into line for you. Really, it happened to me. And so many others I have coached in that area, it's happened to them and continuing to happen with so many others.
And from what you just said, it sounds like the basis of it is really knowing yourself. Yeah, spending time, like you said, with yourself and knowing yourself. Yeah.
Very true.
When about 4 years ago, I follow you on Facebook. Well, you know that. I noticed that you shared a post. I made a note somewhere here so that I could try to quote you verbatim. But you said essentially that loving, in that video, you said the opinion of others should not be the reality that you believe for yourself. Yeah? Tying in with what you just spoke about. Now, of course, that's a very profound, very powerful statement, very powerful words. How would you encourage young people to balance this idea with the idea that first impressions are lasting and what people see, how the world judges us based on what they see? How would you encourage young people to strike the balance between these two? Because some people may think, okay, you're saying that my reality is one thing, but other people see me this way. So what are you really saying to me? What would be your advice to young professionals or anyone? I keep saying young professionals, but this is everybody. What would you say to them to help them balance these two thoughts?
First of all, Shauna, that quote does not belong to me. I really learned that from Les Brown, and Les Brown was one of the first motivational speakers I started listening to some years ago when I started my career, my path as an entrepreneur. And that statement is true in all ways for me. And the question that you're asking about striking a balance, that takes me exactly back to what I said I learned from my dad about doing your best every time. And if I were to come on your show, and my hair is all ruly and everything, and then the world sees me as, whoa, this girl is really nasty. This girl is uncouth. Didn't she know that she was coming on a video where persons will be able to see her? Or I'm here and I have a wrap on and I'm not presentable. There's a time and place for everything. There is a time and place for everything. When I'm with my siblings, where we call our big yard, that's at our parents' house. We call that the big yard. It's literally a big yard. And there's so many of us. When we get there, I have pastors in my family. I have professionals, entrepreneurs, persons who are high up in government. I have a host of different persons in my family, managers, heads of departments. When we get into the big yard, Shauna, there's no portfolio there. Everybody belongs to Mama and PC. We are children when we get there. So everybody let their guards down. And I do videos when I'm there and post on my and post. And it's to show that life is made up of, I like to call it a buffet. Life is made up of a buffet. So the way that you will be with your girls or your boys, when you get to work, it's not, that behavior is not the same. And it doesn't mean that you're not being yourself. It means that you know where to draw the line for what. Okay? So a lot of young persons figure, oh, I'm young, I don't have to be that way when I go to work. I don't have to be that way but truly, like I said to my daughter, today we live in a time of E. Everything is E. There's an E before it. Okay? So you apply for a job or you apply for anything and they need to profile you. The first place they will go is to your social media pages. They want to understand the person that you are. And if all of your content is really not mirroring what you have on your CV or your business proposal, a person may not want to take that chance on you. My niece, for example, who's like a sister to me, we grew up together. My mother raised her and my dad. She's a professional banker. She is relationship manager for business banking. And we're always talking about these kinds of things. And she says to me, Aunt, it is true. Today, everything is about profiling persons on their social media page. And if a person does not have a social media page, you meet with them one-on-one and really want to find out about them. And so for young persons today, they have forgotten that there is truly a time and place for everything. So Shauna, if I'm partying, I party the best way I can. And I have a damn good time. If I am at home disciplining my kids, I do it the best way I can so they never forget that disciplining. so they don't do it again. When I'm in front of the room doing a presentation for a group of people, I deliver it at my best, because I don't want to shortchange the person who is receiving me at not receiving the best, if they had to make a decision based on what I am delivering to them. Yeah. So I do my home gardening. I don't sell anything that I grow, but I do it as if I have to present it to another. So if I have that mindset, it means I will always present it at the best that I know how to do every single time. There's a very close friend of mine, every time he's here at my house and he would see how I make my bed and he sees how my kids make. He said, but I've never seen anyone make a bed like you. Only when I go to the hotels. I said, no, there are people who actually make their beds that way. Because for me, that's the first most important task for me for the day, is to making my bed really well. So in the night, oh my God, you get to lay in a very beautiful, perfect bed. So Shauna, knowing where to draw the line, understanding there is a time and place for everything under the heavens, and knowing what behavior to adopt for this particular thing, this particular environment, this particular place, means that it will allow you to springboard yourself to various places on higher levels and higher levels, because it shows a level of maturity. Yeah. It shows an openness of wanting to learn and wanting to become better. And three, very powerfully gives you the power to be able to serve anywhere you go, wherever you are, and whoever is there. And for me, what that did, it eliminates every time any kind of me being intimidated by anyone or anything or any place, because I know wherever I step into, I give off the best of Vern, regardless of what I'm doing.
Right. And it doesn't mean that because you're acting in an appropriate manner for the environment that you're not being yourself, or that you're stripped of being yourself. Yeah?
A great example I use for my kids, for example, my eldest son, look at your body. It's your body, but there's so many different parts to your body, and every single part has a different function. But when all of these functionalities of all the different parts of your body come together, it makes a beautiful human being called you. And your behaviors are the same, because truly the behavior you have when you go to church is not the behavior you have when you go to the beach. And if you behave reverently in the church and you go to the beach and behave reverently, somebody will think something is really wrong with you. The same way you can't go to church with a swimsuit on and behaving unruly. It's not the behavior for that environment. So truly, when you think of your behaviors as your body, your mouth can't do what your eyes do, your toes can't do what your fingers do, and your bottom can't do what your chest would do. It helps you appreciate that your behavior would not be phony, especially when it's what you have chosen to do and not what somebody is forcing you to do. If somebody's forcing you to do something that doesn't make you feel good and feel yourself, then it means that you are in the wrong place, perhaps in the wrong time.
Yeah, great. Awesome advice, Vern. Awesome. So, Vern, you've been just listening to you and knowing you as a person, you have been so great at creating the kind of life that you want and creating a life that makes you happy. Yeah, so I want to ask the $1 million question, because I've known you from when I met you, you were a training and development manager. I was in sales at the time, and you taught me how to answer the phone properly and how to smile with my voice. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Right, exactly. And so you did that very well, but this is the profession that I knew you to have. This is where I knew you as a trainer. You trained in sales and customer service, and you were exceptional at it. So how did you make the jump from trainer to luxury brand consultant? Could you just take us through the journey a little bit? And then if you can integrate for us how having the success mindset led you from there to here.
Okay. First of all, I still feel that I am a training and development manager, because I do it every day in my business. Every single day I'm doing training and development. I do coaching with emotional intelligence with my team. on a weekly basis. So Shauna, I am so immensely grateful for all the jobs I have had in my life, not very many of them. Every single skill set, everything I have learned in all of my jobs collectively have and continues to be used from day one for 10 years in my business. So for me, it wasn't so much of a jump, it was a continuation, but in a completely different place. Mm-hmm. So what propelled me to move from there, it was one of your warm-up questions, was really my role as a mom. I wanted to be a PhD mom. I wanted to have a PhD in being a mom. And if I had to go to any schooling for that, I think I would pass in flying colors, because considering all of the circumstances and situations I have endured as a wife and mom, I think my kids have done damn well. I am still married, but my husband and I have been separated. We're getting ready to do what I call a loving, peaceful, happy divorce. We're both very at peace. We're both contented. We're happy. We do what we have to do with and for our kids. And there's a level of understanding between us. That's on a side note. But in terms of the shifting of the mindset, for me, there was not much of a shift of mindset for me. It was really aligning myself deliberately with what I wanted and not following the gang, not doing what everybody else did. And that was a big deciding factor for me, because I looked at many others that had gone before me who had done what I was doing. And I looked at the results that they had with their lives, and I decided, that's not what I want. I don't want that kind of result. That by the time I'm done, by the time I retire, my kids would have all grown up, and I don't have the kinds of memories that I want with my kids. So when school is closed, we go gallivanting, we do things, and I don't have a limitation in my mind as to, God, I have to go back to work and that kind of thing. And that's the kind of freedom I wanted. So it goes back for me to, what do I want? And I aligned myself with that in terms of visualizing what I wanted, what quality of life I wanted. And I started to feel what it would feel like of waking up on a morning on my own terms, not having a boss, me being my own boss, me dictating the amount of time I spend with my family. And after I drop my kids at school, I could go sit on the beach and work from there. I can go spend time with my parents. I can support a friend. I can do so much empowering now freely, not just to my job, but freely, globally. And so it stems for me it was from, what do I want? And for me, I wanted to be a PhD mom. I wanted to be a mom with all of the challenges, but still made it. That even if my husband and I wouldn't be able to make it, that my kids would not be impacted negatively as a result, and their path for life would not be negatively impacted. And I think me being there full time made a world of difference for my kids in that transitioning in my marriage. And this is something that normally we don't want to put out there, but this is my truth. This is what happened to me. And it was not a great marriage. Just like when you asked me what was my worst job, some of my worst experiences was in my marriage, but Shauna, they made me grow wings. They made me become a better mother, a better entrepreneur, a better coach, a better professional, a better trainer, a better everything. Because too often you hear persons blame a bad situation for the result happening for them now and moving forward. And it's really about what we choose. It's about the decisions that we make every day. And I decided that a separation, of not being married anymore, is not going to make me any less of a human being. So a person who did not go to university, who just went as far as college, see themselves less than the person who went to university and have so many degrees under their belt. And that's not true. No, my highest level of education, Shauna, was at Arthur Lewis Community College. Many persons think I have a degree here and a degree here. I don't. I have a PhD. It's called a mom.
Yeah. Yeah. So the
And I pride
adjusting of the
myself on that.
mindset. Yeah, the
But
adjusting of the mindset.
my measure of success for my life is how happy am I and how many people's lives I have positively impacted. And for me, that makes me, in my books, as successful as I imagined myself to have been at my age right now. So the transitioning, first, it goes back to your word, Shauna, is the mindset and how you see yourself, where you are at, and where do you want to go. So where you are at may not be a bad thing, like a bad job or a bad relationship or a bad business. But in order for us to grow, something bad always has to surface in order for us to now shift our thinking from where it's at to a higher place to get out of there. If we don't change our level of thinking to a higher place, it means we're digging ourselves deeper into where we are.
Yeah.
So complaining is never an answer. It only makes things worse. Gossiping about it or gossiping about her or him or them is never a good thing. It's going to take you into a bad place. And that's like pouring kerosene over a blazing fire. So if you are in a predicament right now where you want a promotion, you are thinking somebody else got a promotion that you wanted, perhaps the other promotion that is bigger and better should be yours, but you need to position yourself for it, because if you are grudging and hating and complaining and criticizing and gossiping, that means you just
and you'll attract more of that, right?
more
More
of
of
that,
what's leading you to that
more of
behavior.
that. So from my jobs, as what you knew me as, transitioning, every job I have gone to after that job that we worked together have always been aligned with something I wanted in terms of my skill set. And I was able to develop these skill sets everywhere that I went. Everywhere that I went, I was able to develop these skill sets further. And I guess because of what I was wanting, what I was asking for, things just started aligning itself for me automatically. Things I never imagined, people I never thought would cross my path, that I would be at the same round table with, and me speaking and they listening and taking notes from. My goodness, I never imagined these things would happen, Shauna.
Wow.
And so I say to anyone, know what you want. Ask for what you want. Matthew 7:7. Ask and it is given. Seek and you will find it. Knock and it will be open. For everyone who asks receives. There's no condition to that. But the question is, how do we ask? We think asking is, oh, and I want, please give me, please give me. But asking is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That is asking. So learn how to think. There's a pandemic. Oh, there's no jobs. Of course, there are jobs. There are so many jobs. Go out there and get that job. Begin to write down the job that you want, the place you want the job with, the salary you want. So write out your contract, write out the terms and conditions of your job, and then go into Thanksgiving for it as if you had it already, feeling it, spending the money that you're getting from the job, helping others with your job and all of that. So align yourself with what you want, a career, a job, a promotion, a business, whatever it is that you're wanting. But first, know what you want.